Shove it, man!
On Ring of the Hawk, we always listen to the fans. Except today, where we don't. I'm just going off and choosing my own competitor today. And today's competitor is Essa Rios. If you don't like it, I'll smack you one. But normally, I do listen to you guys. So,
if you know a wrestler who could do the J.O.B to the H.A.W.K any night, any day, ha ha! Shove their name in the comment section, Jack!
The only rule we have here is that they must have wrestled fewer than 30 matches, and the matches are only allowed to take place on the main shows. So I'm quite excited for this one. It's about time we covered a wrestler on a different show to TNA. Essa Rios was only about 19 at the time of his WWF run. He had previously competed under a mask as Aguilar, but we aren't here to talk about that gimmick. Did you know he wrestled 19 matches for TNA as Mr. Aguilar throughout 2004? He couldn't speak English, which is probably why he was paired with Lita in the WWF, who was able to speak Spanish. Anyway, enough moaning and groaning, let's get it on. Match 1, Raw is War, light heavyweight title, Crash Holly vs Essa Rios with Lita. Rios captured the light heavyweight title on heat from Gilbert before this match. Essa Rios bounces all over the ropes with an arm drag as the crowd roar with happiness. Crash drops Essa Rios on the ropes, it looks a bit botchy and painful. The man with red hair gets Crash in the corner and hits a net breaker. Rios is just completely dominating and hits a kick that looks exactly like Edge would hit. Crash bails to the outside, so Rios jumps on the ring apron to hit a hurricanrana. Lita then does exactly the same thing as the crowd roar even louder. Back in the ring, Rios hits a suplex and springs to the top. Wow, and he hits a beautiful moonsault for a free. Lita then randomly does a moonsault on Crash as the commentary team are laughing so much they can't speak. A great debut match on the main show. It was long enough to be impactful, but short enough to be interesting the entire time. And what a beautiful moonsault. I'm giving this debut a B. Match 2, SmackDown, for the light heavyweight title, Jeff Hardy with Matt Hardy versus Essa Rios with Lita. Interesting one here, seeing Lita against her future team, the Hardys. Essa tries some chain wrestling, but it's a bit clunky. Jeff Hardy is flying everywhere like the Hawk and hits a crossbody for a 2. Hardy then misses a split-legged moonsault but recovers straight away to dive onto Essa Rios on the outside. Rios catches Jeff Hardy in the corner with a dropkick, and then on the outside, Jeff recovers and dives onto Rios. I cannot keep up with this match, they're just flying everywhere. I say that as Rios hits a beautiful flipping dive onto the outside. Back in the ring, Rios is continuing to fly all over the place and gets a 2 count on Jeff. This match is so back and forth, as Jeff takes advantage with a dropkick to the back of Essa's head. Rios then hits a hurricanrana from the top, and Jeff tries to hide on the outside, but Lita also hits a hurricanrana on him. Matt Hardy doesn't like this very much and hits the twist of fate on Rios with the referee distracted. Jeff then hits the swanton bomb, but he's not going to win here. The referee sees Lita dive onto Jeff, and then he throws the match out. Jeff is the winner, but he doesn't get the title. After the match, Essa tells Lita that he's sick of her giving Matt Hardy the snake eyes, so she slaps him. An excellent TV match. I was entertained the whole way through. I'm going to do something incredibly rare on this channel, so clear out your ear holes, shove that wax out, because you're about to hear it. The Hawk is about to squawk. The match gets an A. Match 3, SmackDown, for the Light Heavyweight Championship. Christian with Edge and Terry Runnels versus Essa Rios with Lita. Both men miss drop kicks and then Christian flips Rios with his legs, but Rios lands on his feet. Great athleticism. Christian then elevates Rios over the top rope and onto the outside. Christian then hits the dive he's been hitting his whole career onto the outside. Back in the ring, Christian gets Rios on his shoulders and nails him with a powerbomb. Christian hit a powerbomb, not something I think I've ever said before on this channel. Both men then smash into each other face first. Terry gets involved, then Lita is able to hit a moonsault on Christian. When she gets up, Edge nails her with the spear. Unfortunately for Christian, the referee sees Edge in the ring and throws the match out. Rios wins the match by DQ. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the last match, but it's nice to see something different in each Essa Rios match so far. I'm giving this one a D, something just felt a bit off though. Match 4, defending the light heavyweight title, Essa Rios with Lita versus Dean Malenko with Eddie Guerrero. My feelings on Dean Malenko aside, I'm going to judge this one without bias because this one could be good. Okay, yeah, I was right. Amazing chain wrestling to start out. Rios gets a 2 count on Dean. Malenko then smashes Rios in the face with a dropkick. Malenko then starts working on the red-headed wonder's arms for ages. For some reason, Malenko then decides to stop attacking his arm and start doing his legs, and locks him in the Texas cloverleaf. The crowd are in complete silence at this point. There's something about these two guys that just don't connect with the audience very well. Rios tries to dive from the top, but Dean catches him up there. Rios then knocks him off and tries to hit the moonsault, but he misses, but he impressively lands on his feet. The red-headed wonder then gets a 2 count. He almost puts Dean away again with another pin, but Eddie gets on the ring apron. Lita tries to dive onto Eddie on the outside, but Eddie catches her and crushes her with a powerbomb on the outside. Rios tries to score a pin, but Dean reverses it and squishes him into the mat for the 3. Dean Malenko is your new light heavyweight champion. The match was pretty bad, I'll have to give it a D. I'm sad his reign is over as the champion, as we've seen some good matches so far. Match 5, Raw. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy versus Essa Rios with Lita. Wow, check out that outfit. And the European champion Eddie Guerrero with Chyna. It's been about a month since the last match, and Eddie is now with Chyna instead of Dean, a pairing which we all much preferred. Eddie and Essie work well together as Rios hits a dropkick on Jeff. Chyna is doing a lot of interfering in this match instead of Lita. Essa gets the tag and hits a dropkick. Unfortunately for him, he's being overshadowed by Eddie Guerrero in this match. The Hardys throw Rios over the top to the outside. Jeff then launches himself on top of him. Eddie then drops down so that Rios can hit a moonsault on Matt. Rios then zooms across the ring and flips over the top onto Jeff on the outside. I love that move, it's beautiful. Eddie then slams Matt and Lita goes over the top for a moonsault. For some reason he just stands there as Lita dives on top of him to cost her own team the match. Matt then nails Eddie with the twist of fate for the 3. I was enjoying this match until that dumb ending. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt though and give it a C. It's setting up a feud though as Chyna hits Essa Rios with a powerbomb. Match 6, the Dudley Boys versus Essa Rios with Lita and Eddie Guerrero with Chyna. Why would Rios agree to team up with them again after what happened on Raw? Bubba starts out by clubbing Rios in the back and then tries to throw him overhead, but Rios lands on his feet. Rios then takes Bubba down with a head scissors and a spinning heel kick. Unfortunately, Bubba squashes him with the Bubba bomb in retaliation. Devon then hits a shoulder block for a 2 count. Rios tries to do some more high flying with Bubba, but he doesn't learn and Bubba powerbombs Rios. The Dudleys almost nail the 3D, but they fail. Rios then gets so much airtime on a dive, he went up to the moon and back. Lita then decides to do a dive again, but hits Eddie instead, just like on Raw. In the ring, the Dudleys put Essa Rios away with the 3D. After the match, the Dudleys powerbomb Lita for a table. Certainly not Essa's best showing here, he pretty much just landed one big dive. I'm giving it a D. Match 7, Eddie and Chyna versus VENIS and Essa Rios with Lita. This feud is continuing and they're going to fight on pay-per-view at Backlash. Look at the size of VENIS here, I have to point out how impressive he looks. Essa finally gets the tag, but Chyna takes him out straight away. Chyna slams Essa and Eddie drops on top of him. In the corner, Chyna hits the handspring back elbow. Eddie gets a close count after hitting a backdrop. Eddie then tries to hit him with a tilt-a-whirl, but Essa lands on his feet. Essa hits an arm drag as the crowd go nuts, he's flying everywhere. Val slams Eddie into Essa's size 2s and gets a 2 count. There's a lot of shenanigans going on in this match all over the place. But inside the ring, Essa hits a beautiful moonsault, and he gets the 3. Wow, a good match. I love Eddie and Essa working together, whether they're teaming or opponents. I give it a B. Lita hits her own moonsault after the match. Backlash is next, I'm excited for this one. Before the next match, Eddie and Chyna have just come back from a prom in a beautiful motor. Eddie drives it out to the ring. I'm not sure if this is the first time he ever did this, but it can't have happened many times before this, and it became a main part of their gimmick. Match 8, Backlash 2000 for the European title. Eddie Guerrero, the champion, with Chyna versus Essa Rios. What an ugly pair of sunglasses, with Lita. Eddie starts out by booting Rios. Rios lands on his feet from a backbreaker and then Rios nails him with one of his own. Eddie is taunting the crowd, but they are starting to cheer him at this point. Rios chucks Eddie out the ring with a huge toss. Rios then misses a dive on the outside and Eddie introduces him to the steps. Eddie is in firm control of the matchup. Chyna on the outside tells Rios, "Shut up or I'll smack you one," and knocks him out. The crowd don't seem to be enjoying this one as much as I expected, as Essa Rios hits a dropkick met with complete silence and gets a 2. Rios and Eddie then wake the crowd up as they pick up the pace. On the outside, Chyna smacks Essa again. "He never did anything to you, Chyna. What's your problem with him?" The cameraman has missed several spots in this match, as they keep showing Chyna in replays. Eddie goes for a powerbomb on the outside as Chyna shoves Lita off the top. Essa Rios then hits a beautiful acai moonsault on Eddie, which almost catches JR and the King at their little table. Back in the ring, Essa takes Eddie straight out of the ring with a dropkick, and then hits a massive dive again to the outside. Essa then tries to go for another dive, but Chyna shoves him off the top. Eddie then hits a superplex, and both men are down knackered. It's weird seeing how the crowd don't seem to care about Rios. He has a good look and beautiful moves, but he gets complete silence from them. In the middle of the ring, Eddie hits a brainbuster, and then he climbs up to the top. He takes too long though, and Rios runs up and does an arm drag. Rios tries to finish him off with the moonsault, but Eddie gets his knees up. Eddie then hits a move that I can't remember him ever doing. It's a variation of the Eye of the Storm, and Eddie pins him for the 3. Weird ending to the match considering all the high spot moves. Lita strips Chyna after the match. It was a really good match, but it had a bit of an anticlimactic ending. I'm giving it a B. It might have been an A, but that ending just seemed a bit off for me. Match 9, Raw, European Championship, Essa Rios with Lita versus the champion Eddie Guerrero with Chyna. Essa and Eddie are pairing off brilliantly as normal as Essa flips him across the ring. He then hits a beautiful arm drag. I love watching that. He follows that up with a total wall backbreaker. Chyna smashes Essa on the outside as usual. Back in the ring, Eddie hits that spinning Eye of the Storm move again and beats him. After the match, Chyna strips Lita. This was a really short match and Rios is now being treated like an afterthought. I give this one a D. Match 10, SmackDown, mixed tag match. Eddie Guerrero and Chyna versus Essa Rios and Lita. Why is this feud still going on? I guess it's because Eddie speaks Spanish, so it makes it easier working with Essa. Lita really doesn't want to get in the ring to face Chyna. Essa takes Chyna's flowers away and gives them to Lita. She looks quite happy about this. Chyna and Eddie hit a double suplex. They then hit a drop toe hold and a drop kick. For some reason this Essa botch made me laugh. Eddie has caught one of his legs and Essa tries to flip out of it and land on his feet. But he kind of stumbles and almost bells, so he just smacks Eddie in the face to help hold himself up. Alright Hawk, get your head back in the game, stop talking nonsense. Drop kick for Chyna on the outside. Essa almost gets the pinfall with a power slam. Eddie then flips Essa overhead, but this time he does land on his feet. Eddie and Chyna continue working together until there's a double down. Lita finally decides to get in the match for the first time, but Chyna catches her on the top rope and cripples her with a powerbomb. Chyna press slams her and she splatters her on the mat, and she pins her for the 3 with 1 foot. Not a good match, a bit botchy, it gets a D. Match 11, Raw, The Godfather and Essa Rios with Lita. It's sure not the first time she's ridden the Ho train, versus the Vanilla Midgets. Just kidding, it's Saturn and the light heavyweight champion Malenko. Before the match, the Godfather tells Dean that he may be the man of 1,000 holds, but he's the man of 1,000 hoes. Dean Malenko accepts Godfather's offer and takes 2 women away, leaving Perry Saturn in a handicap match. Perry attacks Essa and suplexes him across the ring. Rios fights back with a spinning heel kick. Godfather then tags himself in and hits the Ho train, and then tags Essa Rios who's looking for a moonsault. Lita decides to knock her own guy off the top for some reason. Saturn then hits a brainbuster on him and pins him for the 3. What a random way for Lita to turn against Essa. All he did was look at some hoes. I'm not even sure if Lita and Essa were supposed to be a couple. Essa's given her flowers a couple of times, but that's about it. I've never seen them lip lock or anything like that. So why does it matter if he looks at some hoes? Get over yourself, Lita. Match 12, Matt Hardy with Jeff Hardy versus Essa Rios, who is still with Lita at this point. Essa hits a lovely Hurricanrana to take out Matt Hardy. Rios then flies over the top rope to take out Matt on the outside. Back in the ring, Matt Hardy hits a crucifix powerbomb. Matt knocks Essa to the outside. Essa then uses Lita as a human shield against Matt Hardy, who smacks her one. Rios then hits a huge moonsault on Matt Hardy, but only gets a 2 count. Rios then collides with Lita again, and Matt Hardy hits the twist of fate and pins him for the 3. After the match, Rios attacks Lita and hits her with a powerbomb. He then hits his beautiful moonsault on her. The Hardys run out to make the save, and the complete version of Team Extreme is now born. All Lita had to do was let Rios look at his hose. He didn't do anything wrong before this, why break up a happy team? So Essa has now lost his manager / girl / whatever she's supposed to be. How will he get on by himself? Well, to answer that question, we have to fast forward 7 months to 2001. Surely Rios wasn't still with the company during the invasion. Well, au contraire, my little hares, you're about to learn something. Match 13, Raw. Kurt Angle and Raven versus The Big Show and Essa Rios. Rios comes off pretty well against Angle and knocks a few brain cells out of him with a kick. The bad guys start cheating to work over Rios. They're not exactly going to isolate The Big Show, are they? The Big Show then forces himself into the match, but the referee doesn't see the tag. Angle then hits the Angle Slam on Rios, and Raven pins him for the 3. Terrible match for Rios, it gets an F. It went about 2 minutes. Unfortunately, this was his final match on the main shows. He continued competing on the B shows right up to August 2001, so he was definitely there during the invasion storyline. So he had 13 matches on the main roster, but he was a regular on Heat and Jack to the B shows this entire time. WWF weren't really behind having a cruiserweight division. He had a mini feud on Heat with Kurt Angle, which was probably as far up the card as he ever got. He He couldn't cut promos as he didn't want to learn English, and he was always going to have a short shelf life in WWE. With the massive influx of mid-carders and cruiserweights from WCW in 2001, this also helped push him out the company. I feel like I mostly gave him good grades, and that makes a change. We definitely need to see more of him, and it would have been a B overall, but there were a fair few D grades in there as well. So I'm going to have to give him a C overall. And talking of C...
Yes, brother! You might not be able to speak English, but that won't stop you from doing the J.O.B to the H.A.W.K every night, every day. Ha ha! Keep your mouth shut and your shoulders on the mat. And if you don't agree with that, Essa Rios, I'll break your back.